Hey, what's going on, y'all? I grew up in a very unstable home. My parents didn't really plan me that well. I was essentially an accident. My parents didn't have the time or the energy to really raise me and take care of me. But there was one thing that saved me from all of that and gave me some sense of stability through that nonsense, and that was video games, and specifically Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know when I got into Sonic, man. I think it was like maybe 6 or 7. My cousin gave me his Game Boy Advance, and then my mom bought me Sonic Advance. That was my first ever Sonic game I played, and I was hooked ever since then. So around that time, I was basically only playing that game, and then I would buy other few games, but around that time I said, I wanted my own gaming console because my brother had a PS2, but he had Grand Theft Auto and stuff, and obviously you can't play Grand Theft Auto as a kid or else your parents are gonna spank you. So I couldn't touch his PS2, but I said, well, if I can't touch his PS2, can I get a GameCube? Can I get something? So I got good grades and I ended up getting a GameCube. I got a GameCube around 2005. My mom picked it up for me and she bought me Sonic Heroes as my first game. I think a lot of Sonic fans around my age can attest to Sonic Heroes being their first or one of their first Sonic games. For me, it ended up being one of my first, but it ended up being one of my most played. When I got that game, man, I was so locked in. Anything that was happening around me within my family was shut off the moment I turned on that GameCube. When I played Sonic Heroes and I had Sonic Adventure 2, I had Sonic Adventure 1. These are my 3 main games that I played endlessly. I played these games so much, and I started kind of inserting myself into the world of Sonic because my parents weren't really teaching me much when I was a kid. They didn't even potty train me. So what do you think I'm gonna do? I'm gonna look at something that's giving me the ability to express myself. I'm playing Sonic games, I'm understanding freedom, I'm understanding going at your own pace, going where the wind takes you. I'm going at blistering speeds, collecting all these rings, listening to dope ass music. I'm like, this is fun, because the majority of my childhood life outside of video games and cartoons wasn't really that fun. Most of the stuff I never understood. Most of the stuff was just too complex for me, for my little brain to comprehend. So as I'm sitting here looking at my parents maybe arguing, or I'm looking at my relatives doing a whole bunch of nut shit, I'm like, bro, I might as well just sit here and play my Sonic games. And that's what I did. I remember it got so bad when I think this was like a little after I got my GameCube, my mom took me to go pick up another game. My sister tagged along, and then she was like, oh, Breck, what game you gonna buy? And then I pointed to Sonic Mega Collection. To this day, it's still funny to me. She literally banned me from buying Sonic games because I had Sonic Adventure 1, Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Heroes, Sonic Advance. What other Sonic game I had? I had Shadow the Hedgehog. So I'm just having all these Sonic games, and my sister was just fed up with me talking about Sonic this, Sonic that. All he talks about is Sonic. It's like, well, yeah, that's essentially, looking back in hindsight now, that is what's raising me as a kid. I was just a kid in a house full of chaos, but Sonic, that was my escape. That was my little world where everything made sense. All the characters, the music, the gameplay, the unique world, all of this stuff was so amazing to me. My kid self couldn't comprehend my environment versus what I was seeing in the game. I'm like, bro, this is 2 different things. This is 2 different things, and my little brain's like, wait, I want more of this. So I got addicted. I was so addicted that if you remember in elementary school where you did SSR, which was silent sustained reading, where any kid would bring their book or they get a book from the teacher, and during quiet time for like 30 minutes we would read a book just to read. So I remember kids had their own book, like Harry Potter, Magic Treehouse, or Captain Underpants, whatever book they wanted to read, it was a book. But your boy your boy was reading video game manuals. I was reading GameCube manuals from Sonic Heroes, Sonic Riders, Sonic Adventure 2, Shadow the Hedgehog. I was reading so many game manuals from Sonic games in class. So I would read the game manual, see what's on there, and be like, oh wow, I didn't know that was in the game, and then go back and either find what was in the manual or do a move that was in the manual. That's all I did. I was so obsessed with Sonic that I was just reading about Sonic, then go back home and play Sonic. Looking back now, I'm so glad I did that. I'm so glad I just got involved with something that gave me that sense of escapism. And it was hard because, man, I had no space to really express myself. I really didn't. Outside of playing video games, and specifically Sonic games, I had no way to express myself. The only way I could really express myself was playing Sonic and listening to Crush 40. My family used to always kind of judge me for talking about video games or talking about Sonic or any of that nature, and it made me feel very insecure because this is something that I was passionate about. Sonic literally fostered my love for video games. So I'm like, well, I want to talk about it. I'm a kid, but none of my family members really let me express myself. So as a byproduct, I then went back to play Sonic games. The only way I could express myself is to get involved with the game that really spoke to me, that literally embodied everything that I wanted to be in life. I wanted to be free. I wanted to have freedom. I wanted to go where I wanted to go. I wanted to think for myself. I wanted to just be this blunt kid that was just like Sonic. And in a way, I feel like I am that as an adult, but obviously in a more mature way. But I, for some reason, took the instincts of that character and added it to my own life. I don't know what the hell happened, but that's kind of what happens when you're raised by a video game rather than your parents to that extent. You know what I mean? Like my dad worked 2 jobs and my mom was very sick. So I'm a baby. I need some type of care. My siblings took care of me, and where I got most of my life lessons from was Sonic. It is what it is. And I think that's just how unique my life is, bro. I think that's how unique my upbringing was, where I got most of my life lessons from video games. I got most of them from video games. I got most of them from Sonic the Hedgehog, the entire franchise, from the games to the comic books to the TV shows to the movies. Like I even collected figurines, bro. Like I was obsessed with that character. Still am to this day. Not as much because I'm obviously I play a lot of other different games. Hell, I stopped playing Sonic around the time Modern Warfare 2 came out. So that's when I got into first person shooters, and I just said, well, I'm kind of done with Sonic. I grew up a little bit, but I came back because I came back to something that I enjoyed. I wanted to touch back on my childhood, and it felt good to come back to a franchise that really raised me and made me who I am today. I guess it's kind of hard to talk about because I guess it will come off as embarrassing that, wow, bro, a video game raised you. Yes, Sonic literally taught me mostly everything I know about how to handle life. No matter what you going through, bro, if you got time to worry, then just run, keep moving. Sonic taught me that. I didn't learn that from my parents. I didn't learn that from nobody. I just learned that from a video game. So the fact that I learned that from a video game made me want to play more video games. It's like a full cycle, man. And I think that's how my childhood was, and I'm still thankful for how it turned out. I'm so thankful for being raised by video games because, yeah, I wasn't really truly raised by my parents in the best way possible because the circumstances weren't the best. But I'm so grateful for what they provided for me, but I'm mainly also grateful for the fact that I grew up around video games for the most part. I literally learned life shit from a blue hedgehog with red shoes. Hey, it is what it is. But overall, I'm happy, man, and I still love Sonic to this day. I still play Sonic games to this day. I'm still involved with the franchise, sometimes touch down with the community, and I just love playing those games. I love being involved in that world. That world has given me such a huge playground to escape into, and I never wanted to take it for granted. And every day I look back, I'm thinking, why am I so obsessed with this franchise? Just because it taught me how to live life to the fullest extent. And now I look at my recent life in my adulthood, and I'm like, I think that's ultimately what I'm doing now, is changing myself to live life to the fullest extent. Sonic saved me from my childhood. Sonic saved me from depression. Sonic literally saved my life. I wouldn't really be here if I didn't start playing Sonic games, because I would have been dragged down into the patterns that my family had set out for me. But I found video games and I found Sonic, and I slowly broke out of those patterns. I think it all worked out. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. This was a very odd video to make because I really don't, I felt it was kind of corny to talk about video games in this way, but this is how I see video games, man. This is how video games were brought to me. This is how I interacted with them. I connected with them on a very deep emotional level, and that's because I was essentially raised by them. And this one video game character literally saved my childhood and continues to provide a lot of light into my life. I want y'all to let me know what game had this effect on y'all. If video games had this much of a pull on you in your childhood, what game really taught you about life, and what game has kind of raised you in a way growing up? I would actually love to hear it, because I mean, we all have different games that we play, and we all have different games that taught us something. So I would like to hear in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe on the video, and let me know if you want more content like this. And I'll see you guys in the next video. This is Breck. Peace out.